Hello, friends. Welcome to episode number 63 of the Latter-day Lives podcast. My name is Sean Rapier. I am your host, and thank you so much for listening again this week. What a fun show we've got coming up. A couple things before we jump into the conversation this week. I got a fantastic letter from one of our listeners this week. Now, I didn't ask permission to share her name, so I won't, but the letter basically said that she's a big fan of the show. She really enjoys it. But we seem to have a lot of male guests and not enough female guests on the show. I wrote her back and said, I could not agree more. We are trying to get more female guests on the show. We want to have more women interviewed on the show. A couple things to explain. First of all, I am a man. My circle of friends are primarily male, and so it's much easier for me to reach out to other men that I know and to ask them to come onto the show. I have had it in the past a couple times where I've reached out to women and they don't know who I am. They didn't know the show. And so, I either get a no thank you or more often than not, I get no response. But part of why I'm sharing this is some of you have shared names of women who you know who would be great guests. If you know a woman that would be a great guest on the show, please send it over to me. It's Sean at latterdaylives.com. That's SHAWN at latterdaylives.com. Now, what would help me the most is if you would reach out to that person you know and give me a warm introduction. Just say, hey, I listen to this podcast. They have thousands of listeners all around the world, and you'd be a really great guest. That would help me out. But thank you so much to all of you who reach out and the letters we get. And just know that we are working on it. We have 2 interviews lined up with the most incredible women. You will love their stories, and I promise we will get better in that regard. Okay, let's get on to this week's conversation. What a fantastic guest I have. I got to tell you, Parker Jacobs might be the single most talented person I've ever met. He has a mind that is so creative, and he's behind some of the greatest projects. I'm not going to spoil it up in advance. He'll tell you all about it. But on top of everything else, Parker is just an amazing guy. I got to tell you, I wasn't going to say this, but I think we allude to it a couple times in the interview. For the first time in 63 episodes, first time ever, we had to do an interview twice. Yes, Parker was kind enough to have me into his home in Orange County, California, and I just loved his family. He's got an amazing wife and incredible kids, and we had so much fun. We recorded, and I used a different recording setup than I was used to and thought we were doing well, and I got home and was devastated. The audio was blown out, and it kept peaking and distorting, and it sounded terrible, and I was near tears because it was such a great interview. Ashamed, well, first of all, I tried to fix it. I called Nick Galetti. I did everything I could. Please, how can I fix this? There was no fixing it. Embarrassed and ashamed, I texted Parker and told him and said, I'm going to be out in Orange County again next week. I hate to even ask, but could I possibly come over? And he could not have been more gracious. He said, absolutely. Now, I insisted on bringing pizza for the family, so we had a little pizza party first, and then we sat down and we did the interview a second time, and I think we even got a better interview. But Parker and his whole family were just so cool about it. And that's kind of who he is. I just get that sense. He's just a good all-around dude who happens to be super brilliant. So super excited for this conversation and can't wait for you to hear it. And this week in my latter-day life, I'm going to tell you about a vacation that went horribly wrong that has turned into one of the biggest blessings in my life. It's all coming up, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's conversation. On the Latter-day Lives podcast, I am in the home of an amazing artist. I mean, an amazing artist in music, in art, in television, in all kinds of mediums. We're going to talk about all of it. Parker Jacobs is my guest. Parker, thank you so much for having me into your home.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, so what city are we in?
We're in Huntington Beach, California.
Beach, Surf City.
Surf City, yeah.
Is it? It's called Surf City, right?
It's officially Surf City. It was a big fight between, I think it was Santa Barbara and Huntington. And one of the guys from Jan and Dean, I don't know if it was Jan or Dean, but he did a lot of campaigning and a lot of pushing for the official name of Surf City.
So when Jan and Dean sing, "We're going to Surf City," that was Jan and Dean, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we're going to Surf City, going to have some fun. They were coming here.
They're talking about Huntington Beach.
Yeah,
right?
how far do you live from the beach?
2 miles?
Wow.
3 miles? 2.5 miles? Something like that.
Is your family a big beach family?
No, they're totally not. And I'm dragging them out to the beach, and I'm not a big beach guy, but I love the beach. And when I'm in the water, I feel like I'm in my element.
I'm the same way. I love being in the water. Then I get on the sand and I get bored in about 6 minutes. Like I love the actual water part of it.
Yeah, it's not about the sandbox for me at all.
Well, it's awesome. But let's take things way back. Let's go in the Wayback Machine.
Okay.
To a very, very young Parker Jacobs. Tell us a little bit about your family and where you're from.
Okay. Well, my family originates from Utah.
Oddly
enough.
Yeah, you're the reverse pioneers.
Yeah.
You started in Utah and then ventured out.
Yep. And I have lots of pioneer heritage on both sides.
Yeah.
When I'm doing anything, we're watching 17 Miracles, I'm like, okay, so that's dad's side of the family, and this is mom's side of the family, things like that.
That notable.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And I'm a descendant of Penrose and Richards on my mom's side, and I have Jacobs, which has roots up to Brigham Young stepsons and Joseph Smith. And
wow, that's cool.
And my great-grandmother was the first Relief Society president of the church. So it's
Your great-grandmother was the first Relief Society president.
Third. She was the
third Relief Society president of the church.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Zina Diantha Huntington Jacobs Smith Young. So,
first of all, her first name was Zina?
Zina. Z-I-N-A.
Z-I-N-A. Oh, I thought you were saying Ziona, like
Ziona.
Z-I-O-N-A. Ziona.
It's like Mormon superhero, Ziona.
I was like, if you've got a Ziona, a Smith, and a Young in all one name, you're translated, I think, automatically.
So she was incredible.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about your parents.
My parents, they met in BYU. They're crazy, awesome, funny people.
Typical BYU story.
Yeah, they're theater majors, and my mom was also in the costume department as well. And they were both in Sound of Music together. They both played kids.
Ah, cool.
and they're still very youthful. My dad sometimes is still in church things.
Fun.
He's a really skinny guy.
Yeah.
Kind of elf-like little guy.
Yeah.
And we all dwarf him, and we're not very tall people. The Jacobs people are not very tall as it is. But sometimes somebody came across him and was like, "You're great. We'd love to cast you in a church thing as like a hobo. Could you grow a beard?" and he did. And then he was in those Life of Christ.
Oh yeah, sure.
Videos. Yeah, my dad played somebody's father in that.
How awesome!
So it was really funny because he had this crazy old beard because somebody in the church asked him to do that, and then he was working in the temple, and they asked him to stop coming until he could shave. so anyways, my family started there. My dad's brother David Jacobs was a filmmaker at KBYU when
cool.
when the church film program was first starting.
Yeah. So a lot of film, a lot of theater background, which explains a lot about you and your family. Tell me about your siblings.
We're all goofy people. Anyways, so I'll start with my sister Rachel.
Yeah.
My uncle David had cast my sister Rachel in some church propaganda. Is that the right term? That's kind of a negative. Sure. in the church, in the church films,
propaganda makes it a little bit.
It's kind of negative.
Yeah, Cold War.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The church ads.
In church films. Yeah. So she did really well in those, cool. And then she was in The Mailbox.
Mm-hmm. Very well known.
She was in Uncle Ben, and she did a couple other things.
Cool.
And then. And also my brother Christian as well. So That was the only thing. My dad was struggling financially. My parents were. And the only thing that seemed to work was my cute older sister, Rachel. She was this squishy, doll-faced little cute girl. And that was the only thing that was working out for our family was commercials. She was getting local commercial work, and then
she was working a lot.
Yeah,
gave your parents kind of an opportunity to be stage parents a little bit.
Yeah, and that wasn't the goal, but that was what happened. That's exactly what happened, and we ended up moving to California. So I was born in Ogden, but raised in California. I was 1 year old.
Very cool. There. Did you get involved in TV and film stuff as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My first commercial was when I was 6 years old.
What was that commercial?
Right, we talked about this before.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, it was a Slurpee commercial for 7-Eleven, and I sat in the back of a wagon, and it was like the kid pulling me, the older kid who could walk. I was like 6, right? Anyways, the older kid, I was old enough to walk.
Yeah.
We'll just put it that. But he hands me the Slurpee, and at the end of the commercial, I had drank the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
you're supposed to be holding it for him.
I was supposed to be holding it for him.
But then you didn't even actually get a Slurpee for it.
No, it was a styrofoam. It was a styrofoam carved.
Was that a hard lesson for you to learn about? Wait a minute, film isn't exactly what I thought it was.
It was a great. It was a great first introduction into the sham, right?
Yeah.
The big sham of Hollywood. It was like they spray painted it cherry red, and I had to suck on the straw and inhale all of the fumes of styrofoam and spray paint, fresh spray paint. And then pretend I liked it, And
Hollywood's so glamorous.
It was the best thing. So yeah, that's.
So the whole family's doing commercials. You're living out in L.A., kind of living the dream. Mm-hmm. Was Christian doing commercials at this time too?
Christian was doing commercials. Rachel she'd got a spot on Different Strokes. If you remember that,
man.
she was Arnold's girlfriend in a 2-part series with Dabney Coleman. And
so she was Gary Coleman's girlfriend.
Yeah, she was.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christian was acting and I was acting. Then my younger brother Tyler and Emma, she got a little bit acting into
all of you.
Well.
It's so awesome. So you grow up in this acting family. You're all running around doing commercials, doing film, all that kind of stuff. Did you continue doing that through high school?
It kind of tapered off.
Yeah.
I had there was this thing where kids were testing out of high school so that they could be actors. They were getting emancipated. That was kind of an 80s thing,
I remember hearing
those stories of
like
Corey Feldman suing his parents or whatever. So I didn't sue my parents, but I did test out of high school because I was working. I was on the Wonder Years.
Yeah. What were you doing on the Wonder Years?
I was just playing nerdy friend.
That is amazing.
I think it's because Josh Saviano, who played Paul, the nerdy friend with the glasses, he broke his leg in real life. And so they needed a nerdy friend. So I kind of I had done
you had full lines and everything.
Yeah. I'd done a season. I did a small part in a season before in the previous season. So they kind of pushed me in there. And
wow.
And so I did. It's hard to say because I did 3 or 4 episodes, but I was cut completely out of one episode.
So did you have a major crush on Winnie?
Oh yeah.
Oh, who didn't?
Who didn't?
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, so
of course.
So my first thing on the show was we were doing a stage production of our town. Our town. Oh yeah,
right? Our town. Yeah.
And,
the surreal.
And she was
play.
She was the actress, and I was the kid who was playing the part of her father.
Oh yeah.
And she would kiss me on the forehead.
Oh.
She would be like, "Oh, Dad, you're so sweet," and she'd kiss me on the forehead, and I'd be like, "Yes."
We can end the interview now, and you've had the greatest life ever. Winnie Cooper.
That's kind of one of those things that you can trump people on. Yeah, I've checked that off my bucket list.
What was her name? Danica Keller.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant. And
amazing, she was beautiful. Yeah.
She was smart back then. She knew everybody's lines. She had the whole script memorized. She knew what she was doing.
So you're doing all these cool things all through high school. Were you an active active in the church, high school guy?
Always
Yeah.
active in the church. Always faithful.
Stayed that strength.
You know,
Were you known in acting circles, you and your brother, your sisters? Were you kind of known as, at the time, the Mormon Kids?
as the Mormon kid, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
there was, there was still that kind of mentality, like zero. What is it? Zero population is the answer, my friend. Right from
Yeah,
Saturday's Warrior.
Sure.
That mentality that if you have a lot of kids, you're a menace to society. That was big in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah,
and so
I believe that.
So we get some vibes, but then there were also other families that we kind of rolled with. There was a family called the Jacoby family. That they were a family of actors, and the Phoenix family. They were a family of actors that
the River Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix.
They were kind of hippies, I knew Joaquin as Leaf, and we
really,
because that was his name. That was what he went by. As
he went by before he became Joaquin Phoenix.
Leaf and River, and they all had
Leaf and River and Phoenix,
and different cool names. Anyway, so there were some families that were like we could kind of roll with, and that kind of made us unique.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you get done with high school. You ended up testing out early then?
Yeah, I tested out early.
Fun.
My parents had gotten a divorce and had been remarried, and my mom had adopted twins from Romania. That was also a big thing. Do you remember that deal with the... I don't know if you remember. That was kind of a thing that was going on.
That a lot of people were adopting kids
people
from
were
Romania?
adopting kids from
I
Romania.
didn't know
There was
that.
this 60 Minutes special, and
the whole country went crazy and started adopting
my
Romanians.
aunts and
Really?
and my uncles, they're like, we're gonna go save those kids, and
That's
my mom's
awesome.
like, no, okay, all right, we're gonna do that. So
So you have adopted Romanian brothers and sisters.
yep.
What a fun, cool family you
Crazy.
have.
So
Parker, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I grew up with step kids or step brothers and sisters, and that was fun. We ended up moving to St. George right before I
My
served.
favorite city in the
served a
entire
mission.
world. I love St. George. It's my favorite place in the world.
Really?
It really is. I love St. George. St. George and San Francisco, but St. George, incredible. I know.
St. George, San Francisco.
If I had my way, I'd have a house in each and just go back and forth.
All right.
St. George is an awesome place. So then you go on a mission. Tell us where you served your mission.
I served in the Charleston, West Virginia mission.
Yeah, how was Charleston?
So it was awesome.
Yeah.
That was the big city, man.
Yeah.
But so that's that covers most of West Virginia, parts of Southern Virginia, parts of Ohio and Kentucky and Maryland. And
Now I skipped an important step here because we kind of jumped from high school and acting. At some point in here, you get involved in music.
oh yeah, right.
And without this somewhere in here, we're going to miss a big chunk of what you're known for. So
Okay.
tell us about how you got into music.
So my younger brother Tyler, we were all music fans. Anyways, that was our thing, right? My younger brother Tyler had an idea of starting a ska band. Ska was kind of our thing. It was so my thing.
Yeah.
And it was big in Utah. I think it caught on in Utah before it caught on in California, which, the ska revival is supposedly, Orange County, California right here. So I was living.
This is one of the things, by the way, we have super in common.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit older. I'm about your brother Christian's age, and I was a mega ska fan out in Northern California playing in a terrible ska band. You were playing in a very good ska band.
No, I wasn't.
No,
I would
you
not.
were.
I would say terrible too. I put it into that.
So for our listeners, though, who don't know what ska music is, how would you describe maybe not authentic Jamaican ska,
I don't know.
but your ska music?
I think you had it pretty good.
Kind of like poppy punk rock meets horns and with a really good beat, just a driving beat.
Just that driving upbeat. That was kind of the focus.
Let's just put it this way: if you're listening to it and you don't want to dance, it's not ska.
Yeah,
ska music makes you want to dance. A lot of horns and a lot of good drum beat.
Yeah, like ska from the 60s was like. It was a beat. It was upbeat.
Yeah.
Ska, ska. And then as reggae kind of came in, I think it was kind of like the drug culture, right?
Yeah,
they started
the reggae and
doing and then it was ska, and that's reggae. That's where reggae comes from. So with all that peppy energy, the boogie woogie, 50s kind of stuff.
I'm ready to say combine jitterbug, polka, punk rock, and reggae, and you get ska.
Yeah,
how's that?
And because they were there, it was a big band kind of thing.
Definitely.
Then you bring in that soul horn section
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
So it's like everybody and their friend can.
Oh, it's the best music. It's the best. So you get really into it. Tell us about your band.
So yeah, we started a band called Go-Go 13, which of no real consequence. We were
challenge
St.
that.
George's first ska band, right?
You had a big following, though.
And we did.
And you filmed cool music videos.
Well, I guess we recorded stuff and we did stuff. And,
Yeah.
And but because I was kind of from the Orange County ska scene, and half of our band were transplants from Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So they had like the guys who I don't know. Anyways, like the Neon Trees and the Killers. The drummer from the Killers, he met his wife at a Go-Go 13 show. That's
No
kind of a
way.
cool
That's
thing.
cool. That's fun.
So anyway, so they had all those ties with that.
But you started
scene
playing a
and-
lot of shows. And
Yeah, we played a lot in a short amount of
yeah.
time. And
Was it hard to go on a mission to leave the band?
It wasn't hard going on a mission,
Yeah.
but it was something we pined for. It was like like a girlfriend you left at home.
Sure.
It's
It's a great way to do it. Did you
You know what I
deep
mean?
down hope that they would be successful, but only up to a point while you were gone?
right. Well, yeah, not that successful.
I want them to be successful to an extent.
Well, like, okay, so, so basically, Go with 13, that band broke up
Yeah.
as we went on our missions. The other singer,
As they do.
and most Utah ska
Yeah.
bands ended that way, right?
All but two.
And then, gosh, where was I
Yeah,
going-
so you go on
going
your
with this?
mission.
So we split up and went off into different bands. Okay, one of them was the Aquabats, which we'll talk about. But,
Yep.
but the other one was locally. They went on to be the Solutions.
Oh, I didn't know them.
Who, if you've heard the Cultural Hall theme song,
Oh, yeah.
"Give this land if they live righteously,"
Really?
that was Go-Go 13's deal. That was our thing.
No
Yep.
way.
Yeah, so we played that in our set.
A lot of history.
And the Solutions recorded it, and good for them.
So Solutions did Book of Mormon Stories.
Book of Mormon
As a
Stories.
ska song.
Yep. And,
it all comes full circle.
But it was one of those things, though. When I heard it, I was like,
Yeah.
Our surf guitar was more like Pipeline, a little bit more. It was a little like,
a little more fun.
a little more 60s, but that's, I don't know.
That's cool.
They have,
So-
they have a better singer.
So you go, you were the better singer. You go on your mission. Tell us about West Virginia. What do you want people to know about West Virginia?
West Virginia. Oh my gosh, what can I talk about? I love West Virginia. I didn't at the time. I thought
Yeah.
it was stupid hillbillies, and they'd probably say that's what it is. I mean, it is the jungle of America. It is
I have
still
never heard it
wild
called
country.
that. The jungle
It
of
is.
America.
It is. You're never standing on straight land. Everything is either up this hill or up that hill. It's like.
Wow.
It's green, and you don't have any like tree huggers out there because it's trees are everywhere. It's like there are like trees everywhere, and the people there are humble and wonderful, and I love them.
That's awesome.
There are definitely the Civil War still going on there. So I served part of it in the South and part of it in Virginia and part of it in West Virginia.
Oh, that's funny. Virginia and West Virginia might as well be a continent away from each other.
Yeah. And I used to joke like, gee, when I crossed the border, I felt like my IQ went up 10 points or something. But I just love it. And even more so,
Yeah.
like, the West Virginia part.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. See, you serve this mission, which, by the way, the members of the church in West Virginia have got to be the most amazing, giving, humble, wonderful people.
they're diamonds.
Yeah.
They're just incredible. And I'm still probably closer with some of the members out in the mission than I am my companions. You know what I mean?
I would bet so.
And just incredible people.
Salt of the earth. I mean,
And-
I hate to use that.
Yeah,
trait,
right, but it
trait
works.
phrase,
It
but-
totally works.
Yeah.
And it totally applies. And I would also say that first place that the Lord sent missionaries was that area.
Oh, I did not know
So,
that.
it was Virginia, but it wasn't West Virginia yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah.
Because the Civil War hadn't happened
great.
yet. So,
What a great place. You come home from your mission. Where did you come home to?
I came home to my brother who was out here, my older brother, Christian. He's
Let's take that break.
4 years.
Let's take a break and talk about who Christian is.
Okay. So, my brother, Christian,
Yes.
what can I say about him? He also actor, but he was like the cool guy, always the cool guy.
Yeah.
He was a punk rock skateboarder hero. He was partially co-sponsored by a few
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
skateboard companies or whatever, and he was in that movie Gleaming the Cube.
He was in Gleaming the Cube with Christian Slater.
With Christian Slater, right?
That was so in my wheelhouse.
And I remember, Christian Slater was kind of threatened by the other Christian, which he had no need to be, but
that's awesome.
So Christian was this actor, skater, filmmaker. He was doing skate videos.
Very cool.
His first project that he did was with Spike Jonze.
Oh, very awesome.
And then Spike Jonze went on to do a video for the Breeders.
Yeah.
And he had
Cannonball.
his career, and Christian went on to his mission.
Yeah.
Into Japan.
And then Spike Jonze ended up doing videos for Weezer and the Beastie Boys and all kinds of stuff.
And Where the Wild Things Are movie and a bunch of different stuff. So
Christian went on a mission, did the right thing.
Christian did the right thing. He came back super inspired by Japan.
That's awesome.
And right before I left for my mission, while I was in Utah doing Go-Go 13, he was doing another ska band called the Aquabats.
And Christian is currently the lead singer of, always has been the lead singer of the Aquabats. Tell us how the name Aquabats came to be, because it's a great story.
Well, the Aquabats, the story was I was at a Go-Go 13 practice in St. George, and I was just playing with words. I was like, well, you've got an astronaut, and you've got an aquanaut, and you've got an acrobat. Well, how come you don't have an aquabat? And Tyler, my brother, the other younger brother, he was drinking a soda at the time, and he shot it out of his nose. He thought it was the funniest thing. And so I thought that was kind of a cool word. Yeah. And then so I was visiting. I'd spent a lot of time, like my family lived in St. George, but I was going to ska shows in Orange County.
Yeah.
At the time I was driving, going down. So
right.
Then I go and crash with my brother, and he was with his roommate Chad Larson, who's Crash McLarson from the Aquabats now. Crash. And Christian was throwing around ideas. They were talking about it was an LDS family home evening group, singles family home evening group, that they were going to get together and do a band where everybody played instruments that they don't normally play, because there were a lot of musicians in the group. But they're like, okay, well, I'll play bass and I play guitar and whatever. Anyways, Christian was like, I was thinking about doing a band like the Dingbats, but that name was already taken. And I was like, Aquabats. Right? And just in true fashion with the way things work with my brother, he was like, whatever. And then later I found out that he named the band the Aquabats. So it kind of worked out. So members from my band, Go-Go 13, were also in the Aquabats. And then, and since I already had a string of shows lined up with Go-Go 13 and we'd already had a demo tape, the Aquabats, they were the reformed Go-Go 13, and then they showed up at our shows, and we weren't using it anyway, so it was okay. And one of our Go-Go 13 songs, Idiot Box, carried through on 2 of their albums, which they covered because the demo tape, they need songs, right? and which I'm glad to share. And coming back from my mission, I kind of came back here to Orange County area, and he was already touring, and they're already a big band rolling. I mean, we went, I think one of the first things we did was a tour with the Toasters, who I idolized. Like, they were the greatest band, right, at that time.
Yes. I've seen the Toasters many times. Fantastic.
So it was like Toasters and Real Big Fish, and it was like, I mean.
And for our listeners who are not into this type of music, go check out the Aquabats. And by the way, when you talk to people about the Aquabats, you get one of two responses. Either it's who, or they start screaming and crying because they're the biggest fans in the world. The fan base of the Aquabats is incredible. I went to an Aquabats show about a month ago in Salt Lake, took my son, and here were whole families, 2-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 90-year-olds, whatever, in a massive dance party, and it is the most fun band on earth. And to cut kind of to it so that people know what they're looking for, the band dresses like superheroes, but like ridiculous superheroes, like the coolest, most ridiculous superheroes in rash guards and big belts and hats and goggles. And there's a whole backstory to it. And part of the backstory of how they became a band is that they met a professor. Who's the professor?
I'm the professor.
You
right?
started it all.
Yeah. So I ended up getting all this credit, you know. So there are things where I guess I do deserve some credit, but
Of
like,
course.
I mean, the band is an amazing band by themselves.
But you're certainly a part of it. I mean, you're a major part of it. You're in all the videos and stuff, and you're in the TV show. And you're,
back in the day, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'd helped in the songwriting process because I was already doing that, and they used some of our songs. Anyways, but they are incredible. I mean,
and they have a huge following. And just to kind of
the best following. Seriously,
the
the Aquabat
most
fans are the
loyal
best.
fans. Oh my gosh. And we have a lot of mutual friends who are big fans of the band. But one thing going on right now, just to kind of put an end to this part of your life,
Okay.
let's talk about Save the Aquabats.
Oh yeah. So the Aquabats have a Kickstarter campaign going on right now.
Yes.
Bring back the Aquabats.com.
Bring back the Aquabats.com.
And we're trying to keep the Aquabats alive. The Aquabats had a
we're saving
TV
them.
show.
We're making it happen.
We made a TV show, and it did really well. It won an Emmy.
What channel was that on?
It was on the Hub Network,
Yeah.
which was owned by Hasbro.
Yeah.
Who, that's another story. But anyways, they're a toy company that needed to have another
Revenue
show that wasn't a commercial for their toy company.
Yeah.
Anyways, they went out of business. The Hub went out of business, not Hasbro. Hasbro's still doing great.
But the TV show was phenomenal.
Right.
And if you are my age-ish and remember the Croft Superstars, there is so much homage to the Croft Superstars in that show. It's awesome.
By design.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's exactly where we come from. There's a lot of different our generational things that we're
So many.
paying tribute to or ripping off. Or,
Well, just the fact that they've got a giant RV as their, I mean, like every show back then had a cool RV. that was like the battle wagon. So
the battle tram, which is
the
what we
battle
call it
tram.
now, which is totally hilarious because
which by the way, that's what I bought my son. His T-shirt is the battle tram. So it's just awesome.
I designed that T-shirt too. So that's what. Anyways,
it's awesome. When did you realize that you were an artist?
that's just kind of was my thing, you know. I guess, you know, drawing in sacrament meeting, you got the green hymn book and you got it on your lap and you got the back of the program and you're playing drawing games. That's pretty much my childhood, right?
That's awesome.
That was, and
Because we didn't have iPads.
Right. So you could doodle anywhere. You could draw anywhere. You just carry a pen around with you and you can make friends or play games with people drawing. And so that kind of became my thing. It became my career. As an artist. So I was doing merchandise for the Aquabats, and I drew their logo. I was on my mission when I drew the Aquabat logo, and I wrote it on a letter to somebody. It wasn't, this is the logo for your merchandise. It was a letter to a friend of mine that was a mutual friend of the Bat Commanders, and he was like, okay, that's our logo. Bing! And anyway, so I came back doing graphic design. Yeah. And then when the Aquabats record label tanked, they have this thing, or they're doing great, but their platform's shaky. Their record label tanked on this thing called Coachella. There was this thing called Coachella a long time ago,
festival.
Right?
A little music festival called Coachella,
and it is still run by Golden Voice. And Golden Voice had a little record company, and their second year of Coachella put them $2 million under. And so they said, okay, well, the
Brutal.
record company's done.
We're done making records.
Right.
No more.
So you guys are going home. And then I was like, I asked my boss, no, he's not my boss. I asked my friend, Paul Frank, if I could get some pajamas for my sister-in-law, and then I want to know if he had any job openings temporarily.
So you have a lot of listeners right now going, Paul Frank, I swear I know that name. Tell us who Paul Frank is.
Okay.
Because everyone knows Paul Frank.
You might recognize a sock monkey, kind of peaked around the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I think
Paul
that was...
Frank was everywhere. Everywhere. So you went to work doing design for Paul Frank.
Yep. As my daughter's walking down the stairs.
You can come on down.
Eating a pizza.
We're actually, this is what's fun. We're actually hanging out in the Jacobs home.
Yep.
And there's like
so
kids
many
running around everywhere.
So many things going on. It's
Daughter
amazing.
crossing. There was a daughter crossing.
I have so many kids. Usually they're hanging from the chandeliers and the walls
fun.
and stuff.
That makes it fun.
So it's amazing that it's as quiet as it is.
Yeah, it's
But
great.
we were talking about Paul Frank.
Yeah, Paul Frank.
Frank, my old boss and friend.
Paul Frank, big in wallets, belts, T-shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, just Paul Frank was everywhere. And if you search right now, get on Google and search Paul Frank monkey or Julius the monkey, and you'll instantly go, oh my gosh, I own something of that.
I know this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really cool. There was a time when every time I went outside or every time I went shopping or something, I would see something that I had a hand in designing because
That's awesome.
It was so popular.
How much work did you do on the characters? Because there was a whole group
Quite a
of
lot.
characters.
Quite a lot of work. I mean,
in addition to Julius, there were several.
And family members will be like, "Oh, Parker created the monkey. He created Julius the monkey." And of course, no, that was Paul's thing. But Paul would, hire me and there are other artists in our stable, including my younger brother Tyler. Who,
That's so cool.
And that's what we did. We
design work.
drew this universe of these monkeys and friends and
And Paul Frank's
giraffes
still going.
Yeah,
Paul Frank's still going
in
and-
different
A few things.
facets. Okay, here we go. Ready?
If you're watching the video now, you're going to see
there
family
goes
crossing.
my beautiful daughter and
and
there goes my
wife.
beautiful wife.
We're going to do slow-mo on that.
Okay.
We're going to slow it down so that you're crossing slowly. That's
All right.
awesome.
Bye. Love you.
So you're working for Paul Frank at some point along here. And I got to tell you, a few nights ago, my wife and I went to our annual movie, we call it, because we go to movies so rarely. But we actually went to a movie, and here comes walking in the hippest, coolest hipster guy I've ever seen in my entire life. And what T-shirt is he wearing? He's wearing a Yo Gabba Gabba T-shirt.
Whoa, that guy is cool.
That guy is cool. Let's talk about Yo Gabba Gabba.
Okay. So
Tell us what Yo Gabba Gabba is.
Yo Gabba Gabba.
For out of the thousands of listeners we have, for the 2 listeners who don't know Yo Gabba Gabba.
All right.
Let's talk about it.
I'll say what it is, and then I'll say how it happened.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so what Yo Gabba Gabba is it is a preschool show that was a hit show in 2007 is when it came out.
Oh.
Was it that long ago?
Has it really been that? See, when you said that, I went, couldn't have been.
That doesn't
11
sound
years ago.
right, but
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it was right.
Yeah.
It came out and it was a hit show on Nickelodeon, and it had a lot of. It was playing to the parent, right?
Yeah, it was way. There were 2 shows in one. If I can say from a viewer point of view, there was the kids show, and a kid could watch it, and it's a straight kids show, and they would enjoy it. There was an entirely different show for the parents, and I don't mean it wasn't subversive or anything. It was just entertaining. I mean, it was just there was a lot in there that was a wink to culture, that was a wink to what's going on in the world, to pop culture. There was a lot for parents.
Absolutely. So, and we had a lot of guest stars on the show. We had a lot of guest animators and contributors. And
When you say guest stars, we're not talking small stars. Tell us who some of the big stars were.
Elijah Wood, Jack Black,
Jason Bateman,
The
Roots.
The Roots
You
were
had
on
the
there.
Roots
We had
on.
Weezer. We
Weezer
had
was on.
so many people.
It was kind of a cool inside thing for Hollywood. Like, I mean, you guys were the coolest show ever.
And that was what was so cool about it was it wasn't like we were paying people to come on our show either. It was Jack Black's wife called us and said, "Hi, I'm Jack Black's wife, and want to know if you could be on your show? And we're like, you can do whatever you want on our show.
And if if you do go to, you've got a long running relationship with Jack Black. If you do go to bringbacktheaquabats.com, you'll see an awesome video starring Jack Black. He kind of kicks the whole thing off.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And he's, he's said that he'd be willing to come on as an executive producer on the Aquabats show if we get the right funding. So
that's awesome.
So that's why we need all the pledges we can get.
So it's a kids puppet show.
Yeah.
With a great wink and a nod to adults. And it is, by the way, go back. There are tons of places you can see it. Go watch Yo Gabba Gabba. It is so surreal and fun and hip and cool and just, it's an awesome show. Tell us how it came about.
So that came about with trying to get the Aquabats show on the air, which we eventually did. But so, with the Aquabats, we had this superhero band, and we had some, we had radio play. We had a lot of momentum at the time, and the Aquabats fought bad guys on stage, and we would play each show like it was a different episode of a TV show. So sometimes the Aquabats would go on and they didn't know who they were fighting, and that was my job. So I'd come on and I'd be the professor, and I'd go back and I'd get in a monster suit and then fight the Aquabats. Anyways, so we had all of these monsters. We'd built this universe, and we had this idea of, well, while we're trying to get this show rolling, what if we did the cutified versions of these monsters and did a show for them? And that's kind of how it started.
That's so cool.
And that really took off way quicker. And that was at a time when all of us had started, having families, and our kids were little, and we were like, oh no, we have to watch this show now forever. Yeah. and not Yo Gabba Gabba, something else. Yeah. And then so quickly we had to remedy that with what we want to watch. Yeah. And it totally took off. It totally went huge.
It was huge. And I mean, it had such big fans, and still does. Obviously, still has a huge following.
And we had a live tour that just went over across the U.S. several tours, even in Australia. So cool.
What channel was Yo Gabba Gabba on?
It was Nickelodeon, and Nick Jr. It aired on both of them.
And Nickelodeon still sells Yo Gabba Gabba licensed stuff.
Yeah,
there's still stuff that you can buy from Nickelodeon.
Yeah, you can still get just Beanie Babies and stuff like that.
It was a big hit. What was your role in Yo Gabba Gabba?
So my role, it was conceptual. I had to draw the pictures when we were coming up with the idea. So it was character design, and then it became animation art director, and then became helping with prop design and helping with wardrobe, and it was kind of an overall art direction. Like it went from I just do the animation to I'm doing the logo and I'm helping with the wardrobe, and so I did get 6 Emmy nominations for things like set design, for puppet design. That is
awesome.
And I guess that means something when you actually get an Emmy. But nominations are nice.
Nomination's a big deal. I mean, you're talking about 5 people per category, 6 people per category, whatever. That's a big, big deal. I mean, you can say Emmy-nominated artist.
Right. That's it. I mean, I got the resume thing.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Emmy-nominated, but
and so this ran how many seasons?
4.
4 seasons. Mm-hmm. That's amazing to me because it seems like it was a lot longer. I mean, it was such a culturally big deal. Culturally, it was a really, really big deal.
Yeah, and how Nickelodeon did it was they did just keep looping the same episode every week.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
So it was a lot. it was a lot of the same thing. But we wanted to keep going. We still would keep going.
Yeah, but eventually, like all good things, it comes to an end. This leads us into Goon Holler. What is Goon Holler?
Oh, Goon Holler is another one of those things. One thing about Yo Gabba Gabba is that it was a preschool show, and it was a show for adults. And once kids get into elementary school, they'd always go, Yo Gabba Gabba, that's a baby's show, right?
Yeah, that's true. You got to kind of come back around to it as an adult.
So Goon Holler was kind of like that market, that empty hole that we had left. It's a lot of the artwork, actually, I had put into the first season of Yo Gabba Gabba, and we did 3 Goon Holler shorts that were animated shorts on there, but I had carved out the rights so that I could take it elsewhere. So it's a story about a Bigfoot named Tubaloth, and he comes and lives in this magical land, which is with all those crypto bio. Is that the right word? You know what I mean, like the Mothman.
But the
cryptozoological.
Cryptozoological.
Yes, right.
Cryptozoological creatures.
Thank you. And so it's kind of like if all of those places were all in the same place, somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, which may be similar to where I served my mission.
That's what I was going to ask, is how much inspiration did you get from your mission for Goon Holler?
So much. I mean, so much. There's no doubt that that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So I was able to, with the help of my brother Christian, we were like, this is our next thing that we've been developing and working on. I've published 3 Goon Holler children's books.
And they are wonderful. They're so magical, so entertaining, and so silly. You have a knack, by the way, for capturing how kids think.
Really?
I mean, you really do.
Might be like the immaturity level. It might be because I think like a little kid, maybe.
I mean it as a true positive. Like, you really do. You have a way of thinking where kids, I think I can be silly to a point, and then I can't go further than that. And you seem to have the restrictor plates off.
Oh, good.
On taking silliness to different levels. It's so magical. It's so fantastic. So right now, people, if they want to see Goon Holler, they can buy the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 books.
Yep, there's the Goon Holler guidebook,
Yeah.
which was like a pitch show because we want to make it a show. So it was a pitch book. It was a pitch Bible that we published, basically. And then we did Welcome to Goon Holler, which is a storybook kind of a thing. And then Goon Fishin' was the second one.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm working on, it's called Tubaloth of Goon Holler, which is going to be a 120-page graphic novel, comic book.
So
form.
awesome. So you've got on Amazon, by the way, your Goon Holler books are phenomenally successful, like 4.5 stars average.
Those 4 people that bought the book, they really liked it, and I might be related to all of them.
It's got a great following, and what's fun is that from the Aquabats to Yo Gabba Gabba to Goon Holler, there's a connective tissue.
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's you, and you can see it all kind of running through.
Gee.
No, it's really cool. You just have a unique look to it, and I want to take a departure a little bit because your home is a beautiful reflection of your art. I mean, if someone's watching the video, they can see the polka dot wall behind you.
Yeah, that's my wife.
There's a giant sign that says "Be Rad," which okay, we're going
again,
to
my
talk,
wife.
but we're going to talk about Super Rad because it's my favorite Aquabat song. It is my theme song, and it has so many Latter-day Saint references in it that it's really fun. This is one of the things. Is like you've got the roots on. You've got all these incredible guests on Yo Gabba Gabba. The Bring Back the Aquabats video is a who's who of cool Hollywood. Like, I mean, you have this massive following, and here's you and your brother and your friends, not all, but, some of the main people in it, just super active Latter-day Saints. Mm-hmm. And you're so yourselves about it. You're so open about it. And I sit here and I look around at, like, all kinds of cool stuff, including massive puppets overlooking at us.
Right.
And then the coolest temple picture ever that's painted in the style of Mary Blair. Like, you wear your faith on your sleeve, and yet you guys are doing the coolest stuff in Hollywood. Like, there's something about it that's so impressive. But this leads me looking at your home and how much fun it is, and the cameos that we've had in the interview tonight. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about your family.
My family.
Your family here.
My immediate family.
Yes.
We're a blended family.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. Darla, who you saw dart back
so
through here. And
you were married and divorced, and then tell us how you met your wife.
I met my wife online.
That is so how 2018 of you.
Right. But it's a cool story because it it contrasts how my first marriage went, and I don't want to go there,
Sure.
out of respect for everybody,
Of course.
and especially the listener. But I met her on LDS Link Up.
LDS Link Up.
Yep, and we had both were on there like, oh, what are we doing here?
Tell us your wife's name.
Her name's Jennifer. Jennifer Jacobs,
Yeah.
which is awesome. I always wanted to marry Jennifer.
That's really cool.
She's like, well, there's a lot of Jennifers. It's it's the most common name of our generation. But yeah, but every Jennifer I knew I liked. So
That's cool.
but she's incredible. We had lined up, our profiles had all lined up perfectly, right? And except she lived in Idaho. And she had 4 boys. 4 boys. She has 4 boys. And I was like, that's not happening. Nope. But her profile had her with bright red hair, one picture. And the other hair, she had short black bob. And then the other hair, she had a blonde, which I found was a wig. And I'm like, who are you? I need to figure out who you are. So we became friends. I like Skyped with her, like, who? Okay. All right. I know who you are. You're normal. She's incredibly normal.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's nice. Nice meeting you, because Utah, it wasn't happening, right? Or not Utah, Idaho wasn't happening.
Idaho wasn't happening.
Utah
Yeah,
was far enough.
Yeah.
Idaho was way even
that was
farther.
a bridge too far, literally.
So yeah, we stayed friends. We just stayed in contact for a year, and I didn't even consider like going there, but we had clicked on everything, right?
That was awesome.
And then she came out and visited me, and I was dating somebody else at the time. But then what kept happening is that we had built this relationship of trust, this friendship.
Yeah.
That we'd be dating and struggling in the mid-single lifestyle, and then after our dates, we'd go online and talk to each other about how our dates went, and
how cool.
And I would counsel her with like, that guy's an idiot. What, you shouldn't be going out with that guy, that kind of stuff. And it was never, for me, I was like, whatever, she's cool and she's my friend. But it was one of those things where it was a friendship that had evolved into love. And when I had realized that, she was already there. She was totally. That's why I realized she's smarter than me.
Women are better at this than we are.
She's better than me.
Yeah.
I really thought I was the one who would have it all figured out, but man, she was already on board. She was already there, and
so how long did you date?
We dated. Gosh, that was like a few years ago. We dated very, very little.
Yeah.
Because she came down, and then I went up and visited her boys, and they were such a handful. And there's 4 of them, and they're boys.
Yeah. So
whatever.
Fun.
But then again, I had grown up in a family with adopted kids and step family, right. so it's like
kind of prepped for it.
Not hard for me.
Yeah,
I was prepped.
It's awesome.
And it was. When you're dating a woman like that, you're playing for keeps. You know what I mean? I'm not screwing around. I'm not like, gee, maybe it'll work out. I mean, either you're going to do this or you're not going to do it.
Right.
So I got to a point where, I just, once I knew I should ask her, and it was a spiritual confirmation, which awesome. I hadn't had before.
Yeah.
Being my second marriage, I had this like, okay. And we went to the Newport Beach Temple to do an endowment, and we got out there, and I didn't have anything on me. I didn't have a ring or anything, and I was like, I'm sure you saw this coming. She didn't. She knew I was the guy, but she didn't know I was going to pop the question right then.
Awesome.
So I asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and we were all jumping around and dancing around, and one of my friends was walking the grounds, on the temple grounds. He's like, Parker, what are you doing? I just asked her to marry me, and I just remember him jumping around with me, my buddy Tad Balzer.
I love it.
became a bishop. Anyways, but it's been hard, but it's been the right thing. I have no doubt in my mind.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and I was like, yeah, we can get, we'll feel it out. She's like, oh, we got to do this right now. We got to handle this. So it was pretty quick, and our marriage is pretty awesome too. But that's a whole other story.
I've been in your home twice now. This is the second time in your home. There's such a positive vibe here, and I mean, I feel like I really believe that places kind of have the aura of what happens there.
Okay.
And we go to some places where it's heavy, and something heavy's happened there, and I come into your home and there's joy here.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I assume that your family or your marriage or your life is joy all the time.
Right.
I have a family, I get it. But there is definitely a zany, fun, happy, there's a lot going on. How many kids total did you bring together?
Is that 6?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to kind of put an exclamation point on family, tell us a big thing that happened in the family last week.
Oh, well, Ethan just got his mission call. He's going to be serving in the Phoenix, Arizona mission.
And there's a little bit of a funny backstory on Phoenix.
Right. Oh, you know this, right? From my daily doodles.
So,
right?
yeah, and I want our audience to know, you do a doodle every single day?
Yeah, I'm a chronic doodler. Like I said, I draw stuff. So instead of just throwing this doodles away or I scan them and I put them on Instagram.
And I love it. I check them out every single day.
Art of PJ is my Instagram.
I always see them on Facebook. I don't think I'm following it on Instagram.
I mirror it on Facebook and also Blogspot if you still do that. I think I'm the only one that knows that.
No, that's awesome.
Anyway, so yeah, I did a daily doodle about it. But my wife did agree to marry me on the what is the term? On the condition.
Yeah.
On the condition that I don't move her to Arizona. And it was funny because it felt like she was like prophesying, right? Like I had no idea. I don't care about Arizona either way. It's great.
Why would I? Yeah,
I have friends. Sure, okay. You don't want to go to Arizona, fine. But then it kind of became the butt of jokes for years. Like Arizona. Oh, where do you go to Arizona? Kind of our thing. And then Ethan, who is a jokester, was he gets out and pulls out his mission call and he starts reading Phoenix, Arizona mission, and the whole time I was waiting for the punchline. In my mind, the punchline would be the language. He'd make up a language at the end when he reads his mission
Swahili,
call. Yeah, exactly. And no, he was English.
Yeah, he really is going to Phoenix.
And the kid had studied Japanese and he's studied languages and.
That's so great.
I really didn't think he was going to go there, but
that's fun.
But so now the point is, he wasn't joking, and we've had to make amends with Arizona.
So you made your peace with Arizona.
I made my peace.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sure. I love seeing your family. We had a little bit of a pizza party tonight.
Yeah.
There's a long story behind that, but it was fun to see all your kids together and your wife and what you've created here. And I think that the art that you've created, there is so much joy that comes from you that it's fun to have. I always laugh when I hear, oh, he's a stereotypical Mormon, because I don't think that exists anymore. I just think that people who, and I guess stereotypical Latter-day Saint now.
Right.
But I think that anybody who thinks, oh, he's a stereotypical Latter-day Saint just doesn't know enough Latter-day Saints. Because, when I listen to you and, Christian and a lot of my friends out here who work in Hollywood or work in artistic pursuits or whatever, they're not mutually exclusive. You can do really fun, hip, cool things and be an active member of the church and have joy and have that peace. And I absolutely love it. I think that you're such an inspiration for so many. And to our listeners, go check out Yo Gabba Gabba, check out Goon Holler, buy some books, and for the love of all that is good and decent, go to the Kickstarter, go to Bring Back the Aquabats, and bringbacktheaquabats.com. I will say I'm a donor, so I'm not a hypocrite. I am a donor. Make it happen, because in my family, the Aquabats Super Show is almost canon. Like, I don't think there's a day that goes by that we don't quote the Aquabats Super Show. And if you ever want to come into my home and be really cool, just say the phrase, maybe Monant pronounces it wrong.
Maybe Monant
because that will instantly bring my whole family to their knees. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the Manant episode of Aquabats Super Show.
Oh, that's so great.
Parker, this has just been phenomenal. I've loved this look into your life. We're going to close the show as not a surprise to you with the way that we close all of our episodes, which is Parker Jacobs. What does being a member of the church mean to you?
Oh my gosh. When you'd asked me this before, I think I had a perfect answer, and now I don't know if I do have a perfect answer. But it's everything to me. Being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think that's what we should do. We're supposed to focus on the Jesus Christ part. Right?
I agree. 100%.
So I think that's what it's all about, is the message of Jesus Christ and being a Christian in that sense, right? Seems like Christian's a bad word in a lot of ways, but being a follower of Jesus Christ is the point. It's the point of my modern day existence. I think that in this world of darkness and sadness, it's the message of Jesus Christ that brings us hope. It brings us happiness. It's what Christmas is all about, right? That's the spirit of Christmas. And is that a sad thing? No, it's beautiful and wonderful and fun, and it's got cross-eyed monsters, right? It's wonderful. And I love the opportunity to be here in the latter days, and to be able to share my silly talents, in a way that makes people happy, and everything that's good comes from Christ, right? Yeah. Like what's good about America is the freedom and the Christianity about it. What's good about Disneyland? Yep. It's the Christianity about it, I think. And what's good about sharing your talents is that love and that happiness and that light that comes only from Jesus Christ.
What an awesome answer. Incredible father, husband, art director, artist, animator, professor, singer, musician. The list could go on, and truly using your talents to make the world a better place and to build the kingdom of God. Parker Jacobs, thank you for sharing your Latter-day life with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
My special thanks to my new friend, Parker Jacobs, and I do consider Parker a friend. Again, I kind of think he's that guy, that everyone who meets him is his good friend. What an amazing, incredible guy. You can probably tell I'm a little bit of a fanboy when it comes to all things, especially Aquabat, but all of his projects are just awesome. So again, Parker, my sincere thanks. This week in my Latter-day life, I'm actually, if you watch the video of this, which we had some trouble with the video as well, but hopefully that's all worked out. If you do watch the video, you'll see I'm in a dress shirt and a tie. It's Sunday, the day before the release of the podcast, and I just got back from church. I actually ran to another ward just to take the sacrament because I was not there for my own ward today. I flew back with my sons this morning from Anaheim, California, where we were at Disneyland. Now, I know I talk too much about Disneyland on this podcast. It is not a Disneyland podcast. If you want to hear a great Disneyland podcast, check out my friends over at Word on the Main Street. They've got a great one. But I was at Disneyland this weekend, but it was a little bit special. Normally, I just kind of go by myself because my office is in Southern California. This week, I went with my two oldest sons. They are 23 and 20. And we went and spent 2 days at Disneyland and just had the time of our lives. It was so fun, and it got me reflecting back with our 23-year-old son, David. It got me kind of thinking back a little bit to when David was, probably 6 years old, 6, maybe 7, very young. And my wife's whole family decided, grandparents and all the cousins, everybody, that they were going to do a big family cruise. And so we went, and as we were getting ready to go to the ship, we got on a sort of, a bus, a small bus, and we were heading over to the ship, and my son David, 6 or 7 years old, said, "Dad, I don't feel well." And I could see it in his face. He was not feeling well. And we think it was because it was rainy, it was humid, it was overcast, and we were in a bus filled with the bus fumes and exhaust, and it was hot on the bus. And I took him back to the bathroom, and he began throwing up. Now, mind you, we're on our way to the cruise ship at this point, and David starts throwing up. And I'm helping him, whatever, and then we get to the boat, and as we're going to get on the boat, they give us a piece of paper that says, has any member of your party thrown up in the past 24 hours? And I thought, oh no, what are we going to do? They're not going to let us on the boat. And we thought of all the different things we could do, and we knew he wasn't really sick. We knew it was just because of motion sickness and whatnot. But we decided we have to tell the truth, so we marked down, yes, our son has been throwing up. And sure enough, they called us over and said, well, tell us about his symptoms and whatnot. And I tried to minimize it. No, he's done. He's fine. And right then he threw up in a trash can right in front of them. And they said, this kid is not getting on our boat. Who is going home with him? Well, it was my wife's side of the family. And my wife was upset. I was upset. I was near tears. But they were closing that door. And the captain looked at my wife and said, you either get on or stay off. I'm closing the doors and the ship is leaving. And so we watched as they closed the doors, just me and my son David. And he threw up till about midnight that night and then was fine. The next morning, we got up at, 4 in the morning something, took a flight home. I felt miserable. We didn't have our suitcases. They were already on the ship with the rest of my wife's family. It was terrible. But we got home, we made it home, and we were settled. And my son came to me. And again, 6 or 7 years old, and he said, hey, Dad, I'm really sorry that I ruined our family vacation. And I was so sad for him. I said, David, come on, you didn't ruin anything. We're fine. We looked at maybe flying out and meeting up with them in the Bahamas or somewhere, but there was just no good way to make it work. And I said, you know what, David? You and I are going to Disneyland. Let's go. Just you and me. And we went, and we had the best time. For 2 days, we spent the time at Disneyland riding rides, just me and him, and I was able to connect with David. And David's my son who struggles with autism and some other difficulties in his life. We connected on that trip. We talked in a way we never have. Well, the rest of the family came home, and the other kids had such a good time on that cruise. But at the same time, they kind of were like, well, how come David got his own trip to Disneyland? And I thought that was kind of funny. So I decided, okay, I took my son Miles on a trip to Disneyland, just the two of us. And when I got back, the other kids said, well, when do I get my daddy trip? And so sure enough, for one of Krista's birthdays, I took her on a one-on-one trip. And when we adopted JC, I took him. And this became a thing. They called it daddy trips. And usually it was Disneyland. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it would just be somewhere. But basically, I take either one or maybe two, I don't think I've ever done more than two, of my kids, and we go somewhere. And sometimes it's just been St. George or wherever, but usually it's Disneyland, and it's a big deal. And we spend 2 or 3 days, and we don't really get out our phones. We don't get on the internet. There's nothing to distract us. We ride some rides, we walk around, we talk about life. And I get to really connect and bond and build memories with my kids. And we have phenomenal memories of that together. And that's what this weekend was. And I kind of wonder if this would have happened were it not for David, were it not for him getting sick. And I treasure those times. I have great memories of my own family going to Disneyland. And every family has their own thing. Maybe yours is camping, or, maybe it's going to grandma's, or it's going to a city nearby that you really like, or the beach, or wherever it is, whatever your thing is. I cannot highly recommend enough spending time with your children. Now, we had kind of a special one of these trips about 2 years ago where my father, who is in his mid-70s now, my father went with me and David, just the three of us, 3 generations of Rapier men, at Disney World for 4 days. What a special trip to be there with my father and my oldest son together at the same time. And recently we were talking about that trip, and my dad said, I don't know that I'll ever have it in me again to do. I mean, we do 20,000 steps a day. It's a big deal. And he said, I don't know that I'll ever have it in me again to do that. How grateful I am for the time that I had with him. And the time will come someday when I will not have it in me to go with my own kids. And then the time will come that I'll be gone. And I hope that that's a long time away and that I'll get to take grandkids to Disneyland and many more daddy trips. But eventually that will change as things do. But I'm grateful for the time that I had, and that the kids will be able to look back and they'll be able to say, gosh, two things for sure. Dad sure loved us, and he sure loved Disneyland. Because I do. Oh, how I love my family. And what a precious time that these boys at 23 and 20 still will take time hanging out with their dad, even if he makes them ride It's a Small World. And that's what's happening this week in my latter-day life. My friends, I hope you have a wonderful week, and especially as we get to hear a prophet's voice this weekend at General Conference. And what a blessing it is. May our hearts be opened up. And thank you so much for tuning in this week and every week. So until next week, when we'll have another fantastic show, and boy, do we have a compelling guest next week. I'm very excited about it. Please remember, as always, there is a great, big, beautiful world out there. So go be in it, just not of it. Thanks for listening.